each other.
Yes. Yeah, we have the same capacity to,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, quite frankly, that God is an E.T.
I'm glad you said that. Cause, can I say something on that note, please? Because I don't know if you have, and I became the kind of person that I questioned everything, like whether it was this stuff or religion. And so what I went into was, I don't know if you're familiar with the Sumerian text. Are you a little bit familiar with the Sumerian? Enki and Enlil.
Oh yeah, I've read the Lost Book of Enki.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh great. Okay. See. I realized. I think there's something there. Like whatever those beings were, they were the first that came from the Creator, and they were like the sons of what we call it.
Yeah. No? Who knows? Who knows? I've heard different stories.
Okay.
Like there's the asteroid belt was a planet that they were on, and it got destroyed.
Oh, Nibiru. There's something with the that's exploding.
Tiamat.
Yes.
Tiamat.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And Mars was a moon around that planet, and it was populated. And in fact, they found from what I've heard, they found 3 giant UFOs that are crashed in Antarctica.
There's something going on in Antarctica. There is definitely something going on. Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what it was.
There's supposed to be systems on these things that are still functioning after being frozen in the ice for tens of thousands of years.
And then all the nations that are supposedly at war, against each other, they all agree that no one can go to the Antarctica. It's funny, like
so. It's that's why I don't. The wars. That's just nothing more than a satanic blood sacrifice to the Roman cult's god Baal, and why would you get mixed up in some war or something like that? I mean it's just all Satanism.
Yes,
what it is.
yeah. It's not a real war.
Anyways, it's after 1 o'clock. Maybe we should go get something to eat and then come back and continue later.
Is Chris still with us, or?
Yeah, I think he was last time I checked.
Was he? So you were able to get back on? He reconnected with the other sharing of the YouTube stream.
Well, I was using my phone too instead of the Wi-Fi. Yeah, and he says okay. Yeah, so.
He can hear all
Yeah, he's on. He's listening.
Oh.
Yeah, he said I heard every word.
Put on my official voice. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so let's go.
Hi, Chris.
Let's go ahead and go to this little deli around the corner, right?
We'll have to disconnect for now. Because it's recording, isn't it?
I suppose. Yeah. Well, it's actually is it? Yeah, it is recording. Stop recording.
Or on another subject, we unplugged the router
Recording has stopped.
over there and just go direct through the modem that's there. Will that convert back
Just want to stop this.
directly to the Xfinity? Because we're paying for the internet. Like, what did that do? It just allowed us to do the extender thing? No, not necessarily. The router itself typically is
Right now, there it is.
I mean, are people waiting for you now to come on, or?
Well, there was one guy actually,
Oh,
and
okay.
and he knew we were going for lunch.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we lost the YouTube feed, didn't we? Didn't really get that back.
yeah, I was going to. Well, maybe I'll try and start another live stream and see how it goes. Probably ought to do it with my phone though, because I'm not sure that the Wi-Fi is going to give me a good enough connection.
I just realized that I didn't bring anything. I didn't bring anything with me, and it's not like this is a hotel. Well, it's like a hotel, but if we needed to check, I don't know, emails or something, is there anywhere that
There's Wi-Fi. They have Wi-Fi here.
they got Wi-Fi? But you
Yeah,
have to
but
have
it's well, some areas like right here, it was working great for me last night. I listened to YouTube videos. I listen to YouTube videos all night. I go to sleep with them playing.
Me too.
Anyways, so it was working. It worked all night over there. But over here it cuts out.
Right.
Or did you sleep on the sink? Just kidding.
Actually, I slept on the couch. But I had it sitting there. I had it all set up.
Oh,
It was hooked up to my printer, and you know. I was
Do
gonna
what we
go
have to
and,
do to get on that YouTube. I
I was going to go to bed, but then I was so comfortable laying on the couch there, I just laid there and never got up, you know?
I usually sleep on my couch.
Oh, this is your apartment here. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's actually nice. You even got a washer and dryer.
Yes. Those things are coming so handy.
This is a big. These buildings here are pretty big. I mean, it must be
a lot of room.
It's huge. About 15 rooms, I think.
15.
I think between the two.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I would say definitely between the two for sure. Because I think there's actually. I think there's 9. Is it 9 bedrooms?
Yeah, I looked on the flyer. The flyer said, I think it said 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
There's 2 upper floors.
So
they're spaced out.
But he said there were some people that were renting or something.
Yeah, because
in the summer,
it's-
I think.
Well,
Oh.
even now.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's still some people.
Okay.
So,
In there right now?
well, there's,
Oh.
there's 2. We're upstairs. We're right on the top for now. Myself, my wife, and Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
But on the second
Did you say
floor,
Gabby?
Gabby, yeah, she's my stepdaughter.
She's not on Long Island, is she?
No.
Oh, no, because there's someone that I know. I said, can't be her.
Well, it is a small world, so you never know.
Wow. Okay. So, were you also a pilot?
No, well, I'm a student pilot. I got about 40 hours,
Okay.
25 hours. But, yeah. That's been a while since I messed with that. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it works good over there, but over here it's kind of intermittent.
Well,
So-
you set your bandwidth settings too for the stream.
Actually, on that,
Because
Let's see.
if you try and do uplink at too high a bandwidth, your internet connection will croak.
okay, so what's going on here?
Can't believe it's almost the end of the month already.
Yeah.
I don't know, I heard different things about this coming week. In other words, hopefully there's not going to be unrest where people are going to be, doing all kinds of, really bad. And they said as far as stores closing down or whatever, food stores or whatever, if that's the case.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Some places might, but I'm gathering there's not going to be too big a change.
Yeah. We'll see.
After, I think, I suppose the question is whether Trump is declared the winner.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it the other point of view,
Right.
if Biden is declared the winner,
Ooh.
I don't know if the country will just accept that.
I don't think so. I mean, there's people who literally will be up in arms.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, how is it
Well,
possible?
the right usually says, okay, yeah. And they don't.
I know, but when you have, look, did you see some of the amount of people who go to these rallies? I mean,
Biden's or
no,
Trump's?
Trump's.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's thousands, tens of thousands.
And then they have people outside that put up big.
Yeah.
And then I saw this thing with Biden, and they had like a room with these big circles, and he had like 11 people there in one, and I think 15 in another.
Mhm.
I mean, you got to be kidding me.
No, I know.
It's like,
Harris is the same. She was down in South Carolina, I think it was.
The problem with
10
Harris-
people showed up.
right, is she's like way, it's like she's not even,
She's not
halfway,
moderate.
middle.
She's a left.
I mean, Bernie Sanders will be conservative compared to her.
Yeah. Mind you, she's.
And I think that they're setting her up because Joe is not there mentally. I mean, he's not, he's got, right?
I wonder if they drugging him or something. Like,
Well, I think
sorry.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's being.
What did they do to that poor guy?
Well, but you would think at his age, right, his late 70s, at this point, you'd want to know and do the truth. You want to do, even if you did whatever in the past, you'd want to basically.
Yes.
And then these people, like, I don't know. I heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but they said like Pence is a clone. I don't know. And then they talked about Hillary Clinton. She died a while ago. Did that happen? Is that really her? I don't know. Is she like I know she's a witch, but that's another matter.
Yeah.
Well, Bill is too, but she's a more powerful one.
Yes. Yes.
And you talk about this stuff. He's like people think you're nuts. But if you know the things she was involved in, that's why the New York City Police Department wanted to arrest her several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And these are hardened guys, right? And they were watching some of these things that she was involved in, and they lost it, threw up, and I mean they couldn't. When she was involved, I mean, you don't hear any of this stuff. The news media is so like.
Oh no! Distraction.
It's you got Joseph Goebbels, his dream. Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda. His dream became a reality here.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Right? It did. It did.
Oh, yeah.
And if you ever do a Google Earth, have you ever done? This was years ago, but several years ago. If you ever do a Google Earth on the San Diego, where there's where it goes from San Diego to Coronado, there's like the bridge. It's like an L shape.
Mm-hmm.
If you go directly where it makes an L, there, go down straight. There's an abutment. It's a rectangle. It comes out from the side where Coronado is, right? And if you zero in on that, you'll see 2/3 to the right of it, or whatever. There's 4 buildings that form this shape, and you know what the shape is?
Uh-oh.
Stop.
Because it's a swastika,
Oh.
and it's perfectly aligned north to south.
Oh.
How's up? And you know what it houses? The Navy SEALs.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
I mean, I haven't done it recently, but when I last checked a couple of years ago, it was still there. So
Okay, so let's get going here.
Okay.
So I started out basically talking about asserting sovereignty, and I filed a bunch of commercial liens, and so the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I believe that commercial liens work and are valid, but you're operating in their system, and they are thieves. Let me just do something here real quick. I got to turn on the recording.
You want us to ask any questions, or you want to wait till?
If you want to ask questions, I don't care. Anyways,
Recording is on.
so the reason I'm telling you all this is because I believe that commercial liens work and are valid, but you're operating in their system and they are thieves. There's no honor among thieves. When you go into their commercial system, you give up your common law rights and remedies. I started filing criminal complaints and I saw much better results. I filed hundreds of notice and demands and dozens of criminal complaints. Almost all of the criminal complaints may be viewed at the Pinal County Recorder's website. After filing criminal complaints, I have seen numerous people resigned or removed. 3 U.S. attorneys for Arizona, 3 U.S. attorneys for Texas, U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez, U.S. Solicitor General Paul Clements,
That's my last name. I'm sorry.
Pennsylvania Attorney General, Ohio Public Safety Commissioner, IRS Commissioner Mark Everson, 2 Alberta Attorney Generals, U.S. Congressmen, U.S. Senators. I've seen positive results. In Ontario, after filing a lawsuit within 2 weeks, there was an announcement on national TV that the issue that I brought up in my lawsuit was not going to happen and would not be tolerated. This happened twice over 2 lawsuits. U.S. attorneys were removed. They'll never admit it had anything to do with what you're doing. You got to understand that I'm accusing them of multiple felonies, and so what they do is they'll never admit it. Say, "Oh yeah, sorry," because that would be like admitting to multiple felonies. So they'll basically say, "Well, maybe it's time to retire," or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Going on to much greater and happier pastures.
There you go. I've seen when U.S. Attorney Alberto Gonzalez resigned less than 2 weeks after I filed a petition for writ of certiorari with a criminal complaint attached against him. I filed it with the U.S. Supreme Court, and Alberto Gonzalez said that he was hiring attorneys to defend himself against the U.S. Department of Justice. So, again, I filed criminal complaints against a court clerk for addressing mail to me with a zip code, and the clerk disappears, and all future mail does not include a zip code. This is a procedure that I developed over the last 7 years. This was back in 2018, so you could say, from 2011 to probably even before that. I send a registered letter to my public servant. When my public servant violates my rights, I file a criminal complaint against him and send it to his boss. After 30 days, I make up another criminal complaint naming my public servant and his boss as a co-conspirator and accomplice after the fact, and send it to the next up the chain of command. And that's basically what I do. After 30 days, I make another criminal complaint naming my public servant and his boss as a co-conspirator and accomplice after the fact, and their boss's boss as a co-conspirator and accomplice after the fact, and send it to the next guy up the chain of command. Some of them, they don't have too many bosses up there. And so, like for example, if it's a U.S. attorney, his boss is the Attorney General, right? And I'll send a copy to Trump, And I keep going up the chain of command right up to the President of the United States or the Queen, and I always make sure they get a copy. I always record the criminal complaint, because after 30 days it becomes public policy, which is like a regulation. Nowadays it's kind of hard to record it because there's not many counties that'll let you do it. And I've been out of work for about 7 years, so it's kind of expensive too.
That's the first time I've really heard about the Queen being,
Well, if I was in Canada, it'd be the Queen.
Okay. So,
Right. I wouldn't do it if I was here.
right, that's what I was going to say.
Technically, they're supposed to record anything, but many times. Yeah, technically the counter recorder is supposed to record anything, but many times they give you a hard time depending on who is running the show and whether they have a problem perjuring their oath of office. Some counties will literally record anything. Pinal County, Arizona told me that they would record a hamburger if I paid the money, but that's not the case anymore. They won't record it unless you got to show evidence that you live in that area. And so that they want a zip code, they want all sorts of evidence that you live in that area. You know what I mean?
Reside.
Yeah, exactly. When I send them a notice and demand, usually I get no response at all. That means they've acquiesced, and if there's something that you are saying is true, they have a duty to point it. That's not true, I should say. They have a duty to point it out. Silence can be equated with fraud when there's a legal and moral duty to speak, or when an inquiry left unanswered would be intentionally misleading. We cannot condone this shocking conduct. If that is the case, we hope our message is clear. This sort of deception will not be tolerated, and if this is routine, it should be corrected immediately. Fraud is an intentional perversion of the truth for the purpose of inducing another into reliance upon it in part with some valuable thing belonging to him, or to surrender a legal right. When one conveys a false impression by disclosure of some facts and the concealment of other, such concealment is in effect a false representation that what is disclosed is the whole truth. Suppression of material fact, which a party is bound in good faith to disclose, is equivalent to a false representation. Fraud and deceit may arise from silence, where there is a duty to speak the truth, as well as from speaking an untruth. Where a relation of trust or confidence exists between two parties, so that one places peculiar reliance and trustworthiness of another, latter is under duty to make full and truthful disclosure of all material facts, and is liable for misrepresentation or concealment. Concealing a material fact when there's a duty to disclose may be actionable fraud. Fraud may be committed by a failure to speak when the duty of speaking is imposed as much as by speaking falsely. So, I just want to see if he's back. One of the first documents out was sent to the Pinal County Recorder in Arizona. She sent a very short letter back that said, "Thank you for your document. I'll put it on file for future reference," and she signed it personally and said most respectfully about the signature. So that was a good response. A judge in Texas sent me a certified copy of his oath of office and surety bond. That's a good response too. Edmonton City Police sent me a letter acknowledging receipt of the document. This will confirm that your letter was received by the Professional Standards Branch. I've reviewed the contents of your letter and note that there are no articulated complaints of misconduct or complaints of service with respect to any member of the Edmonton Police Service or in relation to the policies and procedures of the Edmonton Police Service. As such, this matter has been classified as information only and is now concluded. So that's okay. They got it. U.S. Solicitor General sent me a letter acknowledging my notice and demand. And this is actually pretty typical. If you look at Trump's letter, it's similar to this. If you notice that I tell them that you have to spell it exactly like that, or you intend to be guilty of mail fraud. I put that in my notice. Anyways, so it's always "Dear Mr. Winningham," and if you look at Trump's letter, it's "Dear Mr. Winningham." Matter of fact, he calls it just Glenn Winningham, which at common law, that's the way it's done. They just talk about the given names. They never talk about the family name. And it's pretty interesting here because it just says Fort Worth, Texas. No zip code, nothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just says the White House too, Washington. Doesn't say District of Columbia.
Yeah. Oh, you just got this?
Yeah. Yeah, I sent him a free copy of my book, and I said, and I autographed it to Donald Trump, a true American patriot.
It's nice to get that with a very unique signature there.
Yeah, and the letter size, it's weird size paper. I'll tell you, I've never seen that kind of size of paper. It's not in the printing or scanning function at all in the computer.
Wow.
And it's like 6.5 by, 9 or something like. It's a weird size.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a bonded type paper.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah.
And it was in between cardboard with the do not fold.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's meant to be framed.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's just a scanned version of it and printed. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know,
So
it's a
anyways-
photo frame size, 8 by 10.
if it was 8 by 10, I'd have to have some matting in there because it wouldn't be big enough. But that's okay. I mean, you expect to have matting in there anyways.
Yeah.
So, that's impressive.
Yeah.
We wonder how he does all that he does in a day. I mean, he must not.
He's got people around him that take care of business for him, you know, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even my book, I've sent him a lot of letters. I could tell you that, like criminal complaints. Because again, remember, I copied him in, and the Attorney General. I filed a criminal complaint against Jeff Sessions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then he came out on TV and started badmouthing Jeff Sessions. And I filed a criminal complaint against Kirsten Nielsen. And then he came out on national TV and started badmouthing Kirsten Nielsen.
We don't hear much about Jeff Sessions. I heard that
Well-
he had a reassignment down in Guantanamo Bay. Is that true?
I have no idea, but this was when he was Attorney General, when I filed a criminal complaint. And he came out and started badmouthing.
Wow.
And so I think he reads my stuff, or he's got someone that does read it and passes on to him the gist of the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because that criminal complaint against Jeff Sessions was like about 250 pages
Wow.
with all the attachments and stuff. Yeah.
Was he really? Because I thought Jeff was a decent guy. But
No, he's in my opinion, he's deep state.
is that right?
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Well,
Seems like most of them really are. You know.
I think as a general rule of thumb, if these guys have been in there anything more than 10 or 15 years,
Yeah.
they're probably deep state because
well,
they
and
either couldn't stand being in that position,
Yeah.
being or wanting to be correct and true,
Right.
or there'd be some way that they would be out if they
They'd be
wanted to
out,
try
yeah.
and continue to push it.
Right.
Which is why I'm even suspicious about some of the current mouthpieces, let's say, for the Republicans.
Yeah.
And they're-
Exactly.
you
Well,
just
I'm sure
don't
they
know.
got
They
both.
seem to be saying all the right things, but
Yeah,
there's stuff
right.
happening.
But they both.
cash talks and BS walks.
Yeah.
Well, and there's actually a story. There was a YouTube video, and I can't remember who it was. There's a YouTube video where somebody was saying that in D.C. that when you get elected to Congress, you don't go to any private parties. You go to the White House parties, sure, you can go there.
Right.
But don't go to any private parties because what will happen is somebody will give you a drink and there'll be something in it and you'll wake up next to some
Yeah.
10-year-old girl
Right.
and with a picture.
Right. Exactly.
And
What I heard. Yeah.
and then after that they own you. You know, they
Yeah.
blackmail you.
Right.
Basically.
Honey, what do you call it? Honey pot? No,
Yeah.
honey buns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey,
Yeah.
Yeah, but 10-year-old girl, that's worse than a honeypot. A honeypot is
Yeah,
just
oh, yeah.
is a hooker basically.
Yeah,
you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's the whole thing. And I guess if they don't, if they'll then threaten your family or whatever. In other
well,
words,
who knows what goes beyond that?
yeah.
But so I imagine a lot of them get caught up in that alone.
Yeah.
You know. But so, anyways, negative responses. The Pennsylvania Attorney General sent a letter making all sorts of legal determinations and presumptions, said they would enforce the law. On March 10th, I filed a criminal complaint and sent it to the Chief Judge of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and the U.S. Attorney. The U.S. Attorney sent me a letter saying they were referring the matter to the FBI. And on 22nd of February 2011, I checked the Pennsylvania Attorney General's website, and it says William H. Ryan Jr. becomes acting Pennsylvania Attorney General. So I think I got his butt removed because they don't have an acting anything unless the guy that was there previously left before his term was up. That's why they have someone that's acting.
Now, isn't Pennsylvania supposed to be actually, to this day, still our, as far as, in other words, our Supreme Court is really
I've heard that. I've heard that.
not Washington, D.C., but
Yeah, there's the Pennsylvania Attorney General, the acting Pennsylvania Attorney General. Ohio Director of Public Safety sent me a letter making all sorts of legal determinations and presumptions. On August 2009, I filed a criminal complaint, sent it to the Ohio Attorney General, the Chief Judge of the Ohio Supreme Court, and the State Bar. On the 22nd of February 2011, I checked the Ohio Public Safety website, and it says that in January 2011, there's a new Ohio Director of Public Safety. Thomas P. Charles is not acting, so it's hard to say whether the other guy was removed before his term was up or not. I first started this when I was going through a foreclosure in Arizona. I decided to arrest the auctioneer when they were selling my house on the courthouse steps. When you witness a felony, you can make an arrest. That's the only time anyone, including the police, can lawfully make an arrest. I called the police to take custody of the felon. The police started building a case against me for disturbing the peace. I sent notice and demands to the police officers, the chief of police, the town attorney, and the judge. The town of Florence sent their straw man a summons. I attached the summons and the notice and demands to an affidavit of criminal complaint and recorded it and sent him a copy. I sent the notice and demands to the Pinal County Sheriff, the Maricopa County Sheriff, the Casa Grande Chief of Police, the Arizona Attorney General, the Chief Judge of the Arizona Supreme Court, and the Phoenix Chief of Police, and more. They sent a bounty hunter to my work. And notice that no police showed up at my work. I was on Friday before Memorial Day weekend in 2005. This is because they keep you in jail for 3 days. The International Monetary Fund pays them $70,000. I came back from lunch and my coworker said there was a big guy here looking for you. And so I already knew who that was, or I figured I knew who that was, and I was already preparing a lawsuit against them. And I left for work early that day and decided to take a week's vacation. As I was driving out of the parking lot, I passed a bounty hunter in a yellow van that was all caged in inside. I was already preparing a lawsuit, so I finished the lawsuit and filed it on the following Tuesday. I sent another notice and demand to the Chief Judge of the Supreme Court of Arizona, which I told her there was a criminal racketeering enterprise operating on the town of Florence, and they had sent their hired thugs looking for me under a warrant for the arrest of their straw man vessel. I demanded that she quash the warrant for the arrest of straw man vessel because, quote, we all know that the corporate commercial agents, the police in brackets, are too stupid to tell the difference between a straw man vessel and a sovereign living soul. And then I said, furthermore, Chief Judge, I have filed this lawsuit, and you're named in it, and this case number, this is the case number, and you'll be served with it soon enough. But if you fail to quash the warrant for the arrest of the straw man vessel, it will be further proof of your dereliction duty to regulate your subordinates. And she didn't quash the warrant, but they never bothered me again after that. Now, I know the warrant was out there because the town attorney actually sent me a letter saying that the warrant was still out there, and they sent me copies of it. And I actually got it quashed, or they dropped the charges here within the last year.
Oh, this was recent then?
Well, no, this was in 2007. So I mean, it took them. It was more than 10 years before they dropped the charges.
Now that bounty hunter, he didn't recognize you when you were going through. He didn't know it was you. You saw his van.
I guess not.
Okay. Obviously, he would have. Yeah.
See, but the interesting thing is that I'd sent notice and demands to the chief of police and all those people, and they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They had to set a bounty hunter. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They couldn't. The cops wouldn't touch it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyways, it's powerful. After my vacation, I went to work, and nobody ever came looking for me again. The Attorney General responded for the Chief Judge in the lawsuit, and the Attorney General said it's perfectly appropriate that I petition the Chief Judge to get the warrant quashed. And it really wasn't quashed, it was out there. But I got stopped several times in Arizona. After that, not several, a few. And like I was one time in Benson, Arizona. Florence is like central Arizona near Phoenix, right? And Benson, Arizona is far southern Arizona on 10, out east of Tucson. Anyways, so the cop stopped me, and he was laughing. He said that he thought it was a joke. He's laughing about this warrant, and he says that, but they don't want to extradite. And so I don't know why they'd have to extradite from another county in Arizona.
Yeah.
but I guess, and then also I got in a car accident in Pinal County, in Casa Grande, which is like about 15 miles from Florence, right? And the county sheriff, the Pinal County sheriff, came to the accident. Some lady made an illegal left turn and broadsided me. And so the county sheriff came to the accident. Florence is the county seat for Pinal County.
Okay.
The Pinal County sheriff came to the accident. And so their head office is in Florence,
Okay.
right? Anyways, and they pulled up the warrant. I heard them on the radio. And they talked about the warrant, and they said, but we don't want to extradite. And why would they have to extradite from Pinal County?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so then what happened is the county sheriff, you know, they didn't arrest me. They just said, you need to take care of this. And I said, yeah, no problem, I will. And it took a while, but it finally they dropped the charges here last, because I was doing the Form 1020 with them and stuff, offering to pay.
Right.
And anyways, because they were wanting $350 for bail, basically, or bond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, on 11th of May 2009, I received a photo radar ticket from the Arizona Department of Public Safety. My son was driving my truck in Arizona. I rejected their offer of contract and sent notice and demands to the court, the judge, and the mayor. The case disappeared. In December of 2009, I was in a car accident in Arizona, and that's the one I was just telling you about, where they made the left turn illegally. And then Nelson used to get stopped by the cops, and they'd say, who owns this car? And he'd say, my dad. And they would never give him a ticket.
Really?
Yeah. This is when he was driving my vehicles. You know?
But that was out there or here?
That was in Texas.
Oh, it was in Texas too. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was living in Texas at the time, and just I was in Arizona just visiting family and stuff.
Right.
Anyways, on 22nd of February 2010, the Arizona DPS sent their straw man a photo radar ticket. I sent notice and demands to the DPS officer, the Director of Public Safety, the Attorney General, and the judge. I filed a criminal complaint against all of them for purge of oath, treason, sedition to the Constitution, and they canceled the photo radar program.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard is no longer in office. He's replaced by Tom Horn, a former judge, in 2010. And they sent me notice that they're canceling the straw man's driver's license.
Oh, boy, I've heard of him.
And this is the ticket. This is from the court, right?
The straw man, yeah.
Yeah, and we have received correspondence from you regarding your affidavit of criminal complaint, and your request has been denied. So, and that's all it says from the clerk. Now this is, it says this is we're going to go in closer to this. This is from the Justice Court that I got the ticket in, right?
Right.
And they're wanting $251. But if you look here, it says, I understand the failure to comply with this payment order may result in the issuance of a warrant for my arrest. They scribbled that out. And then here where it says a warrant for your arrest may be issued by the court. If arrested, you will be taken to jail. That's scribbled out too. So driving is a privilege which can be suspended or to reinstate, you must pay your fine. Anyways, they wanted $250.
Yeah, but you weren't driving, you were traveling unless you
There you go.
Unless you were in commerce or something.
Well, I was renting a car. It was a rental car.
Okay.
And my truck had been damaged. It was in the repair shop.
Right.
I had a rental car, and I went through a photo radar.
Okay, so when you're renting a car, though, I mean, they won't rent cars unless you have, quote, a driver's license.
I know. Yeah,
So
you're right.
how do you really...
I had to produce a driver's license to rent the car.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean...
I've traveled all over the world, and so I have a driver's license that I produce if I have to, but I usually don't produce it.
You use a passport normally, or passport card?
Or Republic of Texas ID card.
Okay. Well, that probably would, would do the job.
Yeah.
And by the way, we'll talk about passport. I want to ask you about that later. How do you really know if you're actually getting...
I don't know.
stars, would they mean anything on that?
I don't know. I don't know that. This is the letter that Arizona DPS sent me. They're threatening to cancel my driver's license. They never did. And this is a website showing Arizona shuts down freeway speed cameras.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mean because of...
You know, I don't know for sure that it was because of me, but, you know, it certainly happened around that time when I was doing that stuff.
Interesting, yeah.
I can't say for sure. In July of 2010, the city of Lethbridge police stopped me and gave their straw man a ticket for no driver's license. There's no requirement in Alberta for a living soul to get a driver's license. I filed 3 criminal complaints against them, filed a petition of right in the Court of Queen's Bench, and criminal complaints attached. The perjurer on the bench entered a plea for their straw man and set it down for show trial. I told them in my criminal complaints that I do not take orders from criminals and will not appear for their show trial, and I did. They convicted their straw man, and the fine was $172, the same as the ticket.
Yeah.
And I called up the clerk and asked if they had issued a warrant, and they said no. And they said it would be handled by motor vehicles. In other words, the way it works in Alberta is that if they give you a fine, then they don't issue a warrant, because if you want to, if you go to renew your driver's license or registration, they're going to want the fine, basically. They'll make you pay it then to renew it.
Right. Yeah.
So they don't bother with the warrants. If you read the bottom of the fine print in the citation, it says, if you fail to respond to this offense notice as required by law by the appearance date indicated above, or if you plead not guilty and fail to appear in person, or by agent and their trial date, you'll be deemed not to dispute the charge, and you may be convicted in your absence without a hearing. If you are convicted, until the fine plus any late payment fees are paid in full, you'll not be allowed to obtain or renew a driver's license or motor vehicle license. Well, I didn't want one anyways.
Right. Exactly. Unless you're in commerce, you're a truck
Right.
driver working for a
Right.
company,
Right. I don't really want it.
or you're getting you a passenger, a taxi cab driver. You really,
Right.
you don't need that. So.
This is proof they know they have no authority. It's proof that it is nothing more than a commercial transaction. In July 2010, I was on my way back from a private information share at Vernon, British Columbia. I got stopped by the Calgary police, and nothing happened there. And on November 28, 2010, I was stopped by an Alberta sheriff on Highway 2 near Olds. There are at least 2 and possibly more classes of citizenship in all common law countries. The government has made perfectly good laws, which are technically correct 99% of the time. Because we've given our servants, the government, the right to presume certain things, the burden is now on us to defeat their presumptions. Best way to defeat any presumption is to go on the attack. Presumptions are taken in martial law. The fact they're presuming anything is proof that you're in a martial law jurisdiction, and they have no authority. Right now, we've provided the government reason to believe we're not sovereign. The government's operating on that assumption based on prima facie evidence that we ourselves provided. So qualified immunity protects government officials from liability for civil damages insofar as their conduct does not violate clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. Qualified immunity defense fails if public officer violates clearly established right because a reasonably competent official should know the law concerning its conduct. A plaintiff who seeks damages for violation of constitutional rights or statutory rights may overcome the defendant's official qualified immunity by showing that those rights were clearly established at the time of the conduct at issue. That's why you sent them the notice of demand. We have to build a prima facie case that is admissible as evidence in court that we're sovereign. In today's world, to be truly sovereign, you must be prepared to force the issue up to and including court. In Rome, they had slaves because they're not prepared to live free or die. In the modern world, you do not have to die for your freedom, but the attitude helps. So force the issue. Number 1 is educate yourself. We're not in this position because our parents, or we are in this position because our parents and grandparents did not understand the issues. Study out the issues. The buck stops here. The ultimate responsibility rests with you. You must accept responsibility for your own actions. You must prepare for your future. Sovereign citizens receive nothing from the government. If you do nothing, then you're at least partially responsible when they violate the next guy's rights. All it takes for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. The important thing is to do something. It's not necessary to use the forms that I use. Make up your own if you want. The following process builds a track record and a case showing your assertion, which is admissible as evidence in court. They know you're already sovereign. They're just a bunch of pirates is what they are. This procedure builds a case against your public servant for multiple felonies. They will never do anything that comes close to admitting that they committed multiple felonies. If this procedure is done properly, the system will take care of your problem for you. You will rarely get a response. You have to learn to read between the lines that they do send you a response. If they do not send a response, then they have acquiesced. So I developed a system going through the foreclosure in Arizona that we talked about. Disturbing the peace, I've sent out hundreds of registered letters, thousands actually. Notice and demand, so it's called a notice and demand, so we're going to go through a lot of the stuff that's in it. And it's estoppel certificates, okay, so you're putting them into estoppel. So I send out a notice and demand. And notice is common law. You're giving them notice. You cannot hold them responsible until you give them notice. Sovereign's demand. It is not negotiable or a request. It's a demand, and it is now. It's called administrative procedure. That's common law. It gives notice of the authorities of your assertion, gives them an opportunity to rebut it, and defeats their presumptions. Oath of office acceptance. That's one of the things I say in there is I accept your oath of office. The oath is all we the people have. Get a copy of their oath. Send them an oath. The oath of office supersedes everything else. The oath of office is your trump card, which is kind of interesting that Trump's in office. But the oath of office it trumps it. Equality under the law is paramount. This is essentially saying that if you're going to send me to a mental institution, you have to go there too. This defeats the strategy that they have of sending people to mental institutions. Competence, incompetence, and representation. They're making unlawful legal determinations for you. When you make application for anything, you're giving them a power of attorney. So I tell them that I am competent in my affairs and you are not competent in my affairs. It's all about competence and incompetence. They're representing you. Copyright. And I think you were saying that you can't copyright the name, and I don't see that there's any advantage to copyrighting the name for sure, because I've never seen anybody, I've never heard of anybody ever collecting anything on the copyright for that name. But I put it in there just as hold it as a little bit of a stick over them, because when I sent it to them, I sent it by registered mail. I have proof of service. And so then if they use the name, then they're volunteering to use the copyright. You know what I mean? Common law copyright's one of the most powerful things you do, but it's not mandatory for this procedure. A copyright's a major deterrent since they're in business to make a profit by providing notice that your straw man's name is copyrighted. If they use the name, it's essentially an offer of contract. All you have to do is reject their offer of contract and send them an invoice and proceed against them with a commercial lien. Make them, and that's another thing, is that I'm not sure that I would do a commercial lien against them anymore. I don't know that it's really worth the trouble, and they're expensive. They can cost you a lot of money doing them because all the certified mail you have to send them. And there's been a lot of bureaucrats that have had liens put against their property, and so they pass statutes about that stuff too. So I'm not sure that I would do that. Make them communicate. That's one of the things I tell them, is that if you're going to communicate with me, it has to be under penalty of perjury. And makes it very difficult for them to communicate since they can't lie.
Yeah.
The chain of command lets them know that you're going to hold everybody in their chain of command personally responsible. I tell them that if you violate my rights, that you and your boss's boss up the chain of command is personally responsible in your private capacity.
Is that valid?
Huh?
Is that valid all the way up the chain?
Sure, because they're all following instructions.
When you mentioned that they may pass a statute or whatever. Statute applies to basically the government or their workers and so on. It doesn't necessarily, if you are, you know, your status is proper, that doesn't.
That's true, but that doesn't stop them from assaulting you with their statutes either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I usually, you know, try and stay away from anything that looks like a violation of their codes, just because I don't want to get assaulted, you know? So zip codes, addresses. Zip codes and postal codes are a martial law jurisdiction. Do you live in a martial law jurisdiction? 18 U.S.C. 1342 is about using fictitious addresses and fictitious names for mailing purposes, and it's the following. Make it very clear up front that you're not interested in being surety for accommodation party. If they ever get you into one of their so-called contracts, this is another piece of proof of their perjury of oath.
That USC 18-1342 is the
Mail fraud.
yeah mail fraud, but that's the one we use on the red notice.
Right.
Vital
Right.
uses
Right.
sends out, and I've actually used that with success too.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes if you're ordering something online or whatever, and they will not send it unless you have a zip code.
Yeah.
So the way I get around it is tell me if it's right, I put care of an address.
Yeah,
like
right.
that. So
Right.
basically,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, that's a good, and you can put near the zip code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. Care of
Mm-hmm.
the address,
Right.
and then the
Near.
the zip code,
Right.
and then
Right.
you're not actually saying you're in.
Things that, right, a federal
just,
zone.
it's near that.
Well, and really the zip code's the post office.
Yeah.
And so you are near the post office.
Yeah. Well, I am literally, because it's about 500 yards.
There you go. There you go.
So
So,
to it.
Excuse me one sec. I just add 9999 at the end.
I saw that.
That's how to, because they all give you an opportunity to put 4 digits.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how I do it, because they don't give me a place to put in near. It's just what's the zip code? You get 5 digits plus the 4.
Oh, okay.
9999 is
Right.
my current understanding.
German for no, 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 no.
Well, no, you just
No, I
they
understand
don't allow
that.
you to put
Right, I
numbers.
understand,
So
but, you know,
anyway,
No, it's a postal number. It's a postal number, and
Yeah.
then,
it declares whatever this. It basically takes you out of the military jurisdiction by putting. That's my understanding.
Okay.
well, no, what it does is it designates the post office as the address location.
As opposed to me.
Yes.
So then they get it and then bring it to me.
Yeah.
At my care of.
Or you go in and collect it. Technically, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go in and pick it up from the post office.
Hmm.
But that's what you're saying when you use that 999.
You mean like general delivery?
General delivery?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, thank you for correcting.
Okay, so no driver's license. If they didn't argue about this, then they have given you permission. A driver's license is a color of law. There's no authority to require one. You do not have a driver's license, even though your straw man might have one. Picture identification. You make up your own picture identification, or use. There's a couple different types of picture identification. This is NSCA. National Standards Enforcement Agency. I also use Republic of Texas.
Yeah, 2 forms of ID.
Now, you use this when if you're traveling in, going on a
yeah.
plane or something?
Well, the Republic of Texas, I should be able to use it internationally too.
That's true.
But, and then this one,
Oh, you got the right American flag there, right?
yeah, that's American National. That's
Exactly.
and then this one is, Catman makes these up.
Where did this one come from?
That's a guy by the name of Jeffrey Katz makes
Oh,
that
okay.
one, makes that one up, and that's pretty good too.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
And if you look on the back, it's notarized.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
So,
Yeah, that's the one I use at the moment. The
Catman's?
notarized- The notarized Catman.
But
yeah.
these, if you would, again, you want to rent a car, they're not going to let you use.
No,
probably,
you wouldn't.
right?
You'd have to have a
You
driver's
have to have
license
a
for sure.
driver's license, right? Well, then you're basically, like I said, it's not you.
They have statutes that enforce the rental car companies to.
It's a straw man, basically.
Right.
They're after.
Right.
So,
Right.
okay.
That's my version.
Oh wow. You got, so you have still another.
Is that Catman's? Oh, yeah. So he's made some changes to it then, obviously.
Yeah, yes.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
So I've got my
So you
crest
use it.
on there too.
When do you actually use this ID?
Whenever anybody asks me for ID.
Okay. So if you were in a car traveling and for some reason you got stopped somewhere,
Well, I have other ways to get around that. But
Okay.
if it gets to the point where I'm going to have to provide an ID,
right?
because they really, really want an ID, then
Right.
I would be giving them this.
Okay.
See,
That
and
makes
you have
sense.
to understand that he's a retired police officer.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, that helps too, I suppose, right?
I like it.
All right, so
It's nice.
But it shows that there's
It's a
people are
crest.
open to.
Jones
There's some
on the
people that
crest.
are open. You know what I mean?
right. Okay. So is it not correct to basically, if someone did stop, they didn't have a, well, okay, they didn't have a driver's license, but the straw man had
Get
one.
it again in the line.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, again, you got to pick your battles.
Yeah.
And him being a former police officer, he has a way of talking to them because he knows a lot of them, and
Right. Those things.
so he's able to present it in a way that doesn't get him arrested or something. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mhm.
But so it's all in presentation. It's just knowing how to present it. you know?
Exactly, that's true.
A lot of these cops, they know something's wrong. They just can't put their finger on it.
Right, like everybody.
And they don't really like doing what they're doing. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are gung ho, and so you just never know. But so you just who knows what you're going to get, and it's just all in how you present it, And
One of the things, because I've done the presentations and Len's recorded them and put them up on his site.
Oh, right.
right,
So, okay.
yeah.
There should be two up there, really, shouldn't
Yeah.
there? I know the second one was cut off a little bit, but I've done presentations on this, and it's based around the fact that I have a document that I present to them, if it gets that far.
Mm.
But I also have a little process that I go through once they're pulling me over.
Mhm.
So the first thing I'm doing is leaning out the window, and I'm shouting to them as they're approaching, "Hey, I see your emergency lights are on. What's the problem? Is there something I can help you with?" Or I should say, "What's the emergency?
Right.
Is there something I can help you with?"
Mm.
So that's the first thing, you're pointing out that you know that the emergency lights is declaring an emergency,
Right.
and you're also saying, "Well, can I help you?" So that part, you're being helpful, you're not being
Right.
a dick.
Mhm.
They will say, "Oh, no, there's no emergency, it's all right." So, okay, all right, fine, no emergency. So, did you see me commit or about to commit a breach of the peace? No. Okay, so no breach of the peace. So, did you see me commit or about to commit a felony arrestable offence? No. Well, hopefully at this point there would be a no.
Yes.
So, okay, no arrestable offence either. So, do you have a verified warrant for my arrest in your possession? No. Okay, well, the last thing is, well, did you see that sign in the back of my conveyance?
Mm.
And hopefully they'll have seen it because it's right in the back window. And they say, yes. Okay, well, you saw the sign, so why am I under arrest? And at that point, they say, you're not under arrest. Oh, well, if I'm not under arrest, then I'm obviously free to go. Have a nice day, officer. Drive off.
What does the sign on the back of your window say?
It basically says private conveyance, not for hire or reward,
Mm-hmm.
not engaged in transportation or commerce.
Oh, okay.
So the whole process that I go through is that, one, that spiel rebuts all of their presumptions,
Mm.
and it vitiates any what the hell, their
So how-
process. What the hell do you call it?
Not probable.
Probable cause. Thank you.
Probable.
Jeez, Nelson. I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
That's
Well,
all
yeah,
right.
it
You got a lot
vitiates
on your
their.
mind.
Yeah, it
You got a lot
vitiates
on your
their.
You recorded that?
probable
I
cause.
mean, what you do basically that you just mentioned, or is that?
Do I record?
No. Did you record that somewhere? Is that somewhere where? I mean, I'm like.
Yeah, no. If you look on Glenn's website under
Okay.
Carl Northeast
Oh.
information share,
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure whether that part is included because Glenn doesn't always include everything
Right.
on the video thing, so you might not always get that information on the videos.
Mm.
But yes, that is the process that I go through. And if it gets to the point where I'm not driving off and he's being a dick about the whole thing, then that's say, okay, well, at this point, I'm going to have to hand you this. Read that, and then decide whether you want to, detain me any further. Because at this point, the clock's going,
Right.
and it's $1,000 a minute, according to the Trevor
Trevor v. Tampa.
v. Tampa.
And you have that recorded somewhere basically, so there's no question they can look that up.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's the citations in the paperwork that I give them. So
Okay.
the first 6 pages of that are based on the information that they need to know about the law,
Right.
about the description of motor vehicles, driving licenses, rights to travel, and all of that stuff.
Right.
And then the rest of it is pretty much all the citations and court references and cases that refer to it.
Which they don't teach them in police academy.
No.
Well, sometimes they do, but they couch it in different ways.
Right? They almost have to inform them, in a way.
In a way, yeah. I mean, see, part of the reason why I use that declaration on the back of my car is that private conveyance, not for hire or reward, was a notice that was posted on the original old-time conveyances and vehicles in the late 1800s.
So they would know who had to have a license.
Correct.
So they would be able to regulate commerce.
Commerce.
Exactly. Now this was based in England because it's written in the law, and that's how I knew about that. But it's the same thing over here. A private
Right.
conveyance is a private conveyance, and commerce is still commerce.
Right.
And hire and reward still means the same thing.
And they
Transportation means the same thing.
When you travel now, you travel basically, do you still use state-issued plates, or do you...
Well, this is a kind of a tricky one because I purchased private, what they call private plates or vanity plates,
Yes.
as they refer to, in Canada, where I came from originally.
Okay.
So those plates were printed under the Ontario, but it's know-how, it's written on it, but it's private, and I've written on it, private property as well.
But
Okay.
Ontario's still showing.
Ontario's still showing on there, so anybody who kind of looks at it would think, oh, it's an Ontario plate. Whether they go any further to check, I don't know. I mean, I've had enough cops that, there was one on the way down here again this time round, because I came up in July, and I had them following me for about 15 minutes.
They were following you for...
Yeah, I mean, we were going in the same direction,
Oh,
it
okay.
seems.
All
He
right.
wasn't specifically following me,
Right.
as far as I could tell. But if he was, he decided that I was of no interest to him, and I turned left, and he carried on.
Right.
But for the previous 10, almost 15 minutes, he was behind me.
Behind you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he had plenty of time to check. And
Right, so he
there's
could've-
no obvious,
Right.
if he knew anything about the plates, he would see that the license, what the hell do we call it?
Stamp, a sticker.
The sticker, was covered up because it had expired.
Okay.
Because
Right.
previously it had been used up in Canada.
Right.
And I stopped out of that for a while, so I covered it up. And one of the things, and I pointed out to one of the guys that came down here a couple of years ago, and he got stopped, Manuel. He got stopped out there because he puts wrong plates on the car. But
Right.
what you have to do is cover up any offences. So if you've got a sticker there that's
That
obviously
gives them probably
expired,
the cause to pull you over.
Yeah.
exactly. So you cover it up.
They can't stop you, in other words, if it's covered, it doesn't show, or...
If it doesn't
or
show,
or
then
it's removed.
why would they be stopping you?
They'll say, well, where's your sticker? Or, where your sticker?
Well,
They want...
even if they
It's all
do,
about jurisdiction.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
this is one of the issues with how I go on, because I've been doing this now for 3 years. I've never been stopped once. I don't want to tempt fate. You never want to tempt fate, but I mean, I've driven around all over, and I've not been stopped. And I've had cops pass me, behind me, You know, some of the cops that in the area that I'm staying at the moment, I've spoken to a couple of in the past when we've had need to approach them because they blocked the road off,
Right.
because there was a gas main that you know gone up somewhere nearby.
Right.
And you know, I just want to go over there. You know, I pulled up beside them. I just want to go to that. No, you can't. They blocked the road off. I said, but I only just.
Yeah.
I know where you live.
Right.
But they don't do anything. They don't say anything
Yeah.
beyond that.
Right.
You know, so I don't have any problems with it. But whether that's because of the fact that it's got that Canadian plate. Whether I'd have more of an issue if I just stuck private on there or just stuck something else on there.
Right.
I'm not quite sure, but I've never had any issues with it. It's never presented any problems, and I don't know if they have the ability, because I was a cop in the UK, not in the US, so I don't know if they have the ability to check the plates for Canada licensed vehicles. Excuse me.
Now, if you bought the car brand new and you got the MSO, you
I
basi-
didn't. I actually bought it used, paid cash right off the bat.
No, but if you did though, and you were able to get that, they don't want to. You know, they always want to put. They want to try. Oh, we'll do you a favor. No. I want the MSO. That's
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not going to have a sale here.
Yeah.
Because I only once I really see someone driving from Albany, capital of New York, down, no plates, nothing on the car. It was a temporary thing. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just someone who maybe was one of those people, or because you
I
think
don't know, because if you have no plates on
No
there
plates.
at all, then I mean, I've in my career, I've stopped people that didn't have plates on the car.
yeah. But if they had their status correct, if they were not a U.S. citizen, they were an American national and all, basically,
Then again, it would give them suspicion
Yeah.
and reason to stop.
Okay.
And once you clarified your position,
Mm-hmm.
they either go forward and think that they've got the authority to go and prosecute you or issue a
Yeah.
ticket or whatever,
Right.
or they just understand exactly and say, "Oh, thank you, just get that taken care of, and so
Yeah.
that we know, blah blah," and then off you go. Which is
Right.
one of the reasons why I have the notice on it to start with,
Yeah.
because it's like anything. We're giving notices. We're giving notices and demands,
Yes.
and that is a notice. And
Right.
I'm telling you, before you even stop me, this is the situation with this conveyance. It's a private conveyance, it's got
Right.
nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I'm not for hire or reward, so I'm not getting any fare
You're
or
not
money
commerce.
out of
Yeah.
this.
You just.
And I'm not commerce.
Right.
I'm not engaged in transportation.
Right.
So you don't have jurisdiction over me. Go away.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And if
Exactly.
they don't understand that, then if they're going to pull me up and walk up to my window, after I've gone through that spiel and they still want to talk to me, then I'm going to give them that document that I've got.
Exactly. And if they then call their, boss or whatever.
They would usually call back in at that point.
But at
And
that
I've
point, you
seen
have
it-
them though, because you gave them that, and if it's 10 minutes or half an hour later, you're still there.
Well, I mean, if they hand it back to me and they've done all their inquiries
Okay,
and
yeah.
okay, you obviously know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just take it easy, and whatever the reason is that they stop me,
Right.
and have a nice day.
Yeah.
Then thank you very much, officer. Shake the hand. Appreciate you doing a good job.
Right.
You understand the situation. You didn't give me hassle. And I'd like to thank you very much for that.
Right. Okay. I'm
You
sure.
know, and
Yeah, have a
let
great
them go
day.
away feeling
Exactly.
good about it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because they're
Absolutely.
the person too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to ask you. You did mention in here, and I heard the one time I used that phrase, sovereign citizen. If someone's truly sovereign, well, I think God's always sovereign, but
I usually stay away from those kinds of words.
I was going to say because, the police or whatever say, "Oh, you're one of those sovereign citizens." aren't you?"
Right.
So, because if you're sovereign, you're not really a citizen, then, right? You're
Well, my question
Well,
to that is, which one am I?
right.
Which one am I? You call me a sovereign citizen. Which one am I?
Well-
Can't be both.
Well, there's American. Right, there's American
There's
nationals.
no such thing.
And there's
Yeah.
like and there's American state national or the state's citizen. Now, a citizen supposedly you got to make a citizen's arrest. If you're an American national, you don't necessarily have that right to do that, right? Or if you're an American national, but if you're American state national,
Well,
Or American- I mean,
you
if you're
always
an
have the
American
power
citizen.
of arrest.
you do. Even if you're not quote a citizen.
That's common law.
It's common law.
Right.
What
Power of
happened?
arrest comes from common law.
Right, but
So
that's-
the citizen is
In New Jersey.
it's a misnomer really, because you have to understand whether you're a state citizen,
Yeah.
which is a greater power, a greater position than a U.S. citizen.
Oh, no, I
which
understand,
is-
but,
well, you know that.
Well, no,
that's
you
down
are-
at the bottom of the
oh
total.
yeah, that's totally right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
the
Basically.
power of arrest is comes under common law.
Common law, right.
Depending on what it is. I mean, you can't arrest for civil offences. Even the cops can't really arrest. There's no, and especially in New Jersey because it's written in the code. There's no power of arrest for civil infractions
Yeah.
in New Jersey.
Oh,
So
interesting, yeah.
common law arrest usually refers to more severe offences where you're actually harming someone, so assault.
Where you witness something equivalent to a felony, basically.
Yeah. So, but it would be an assault, or you've done somebody harm, or you've caused damage and loss, or you've stolen your witness, or you've actually witnessed a theft.
Right.
That you have the power of arrest, just under the common law power.
Right, and really the cops are doing nothing that you don't have the power to do yourself, too. A lot of time, 99% of the time, when the cops make an arrest, you know, it's power that you could do yourself, really.
Because they're going on the word of another person. They
Yeah.
didn't see it.
Right.
And they don't have an affidavit either, probably.
Right.
If you witness it, though, you have the power to arrest people, for sure.
Really.
But I'm not a person, I'm a
Jersey?
man.
In New Jersey? Well,
Yeah.
I'll just make 3 quick comments, just leave it out there. One, I boiled all that down, what he went through,
Yeah.
to I'm a foreign sovereign.
Okay.
And I've said it in front of City Hall, I've said it to the police.
Right.
I'm a foreign sovereign. That's number 1. And it's under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And it also, that word, Glenn, fits everything you talked about, internationally protected
Right.
person.
Mm-hmm.
So foreign sovereign is where I'm at. I've been
Okay.
through the American national. I'm a citizen of one of the several states.
Right.
With a capital C. I was born on Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And now I'm on New Jersey.
Sure.
You're traveling, sure.
And then
You don't reside, though, in New Jersey.
I don't reside anywhere.
Don't
Exactly.
reside anywhere, then, right.
And you live in your body.
I live,
Where do you live? I live in my body. Is that wrong?
where do I live? I guess where I know on Ocean City, near Ocean City, on Ocean. I'm okay with on Ocean City, but I mean it's not critical. They're not going to put me in
No.
jail for that.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, what I'm preparing right now against the attorney is a crime, and the New Jersey Code requires a private citizen to press the charge themselves, and you can either go through the municipal police or go directly to the court and file it with the court. Because if it's a crime, it belongs in superior court, not municipal court. Municipal court does not deal with crimes.
Right.
They deal with offenses. So they can't put any man in jail for an offense, in my opinion, because it's not a crime, which they did to me, but I didn't know it at the time, and so. So the third point, I'll repeat, is that so 45 days, the prosecutor, because I'm arresting the man essentially, right? So they have 45 days. My affidavit, my declaration of truth, is what they're using to decide is there probable cause for an arrest. And I'm the one prosecuting initially, and the state takes over and does the prosecution using my testimony. And those are the 3 things I wanted to say.
And that's technically the sequence of events for a citizen's arrest anyway. You arrest somebody under your what you've witnessed, and you then hand over the criminal to the cops that show up.
Yeah, right. That's the first thing you have to do. If you ever do a citizen's arrest, call the cops and tell them to take custody. Because the cops have to come and take custody. You cannot move the guy or anything. You right there where you're at, you call them, and they come and take
Yeah.
possession of the criminal.
And if he runs, he's fleeing arrest. He's
Well,
fleeing
then you can go and tackle him, stop him, but that's it.
You can?
Sure, yeah, to stop him, that's part of the arrest. But
Yeah.
but you cannot take him anywhere.
I see.
You call the cops and you tell them to come and take possession, take custody, and because otherwise you'll be guilty of kidnapping. So you cannot take him anywhere. You're performing a citizen's arrest, and that means to stop him. Arrest means to stop him, right? So then, if necessary, that means tackle him. And so you stop him, right? And you call the cops and tell them I arrested this guy, and come and take custody. You know.
A
Yeah.
prime example of it is usually security guards in stores, shop stores,
Right.
because they will arrest people for shoplifting.
Right.
Call the cops. Cops come down, listen to the story, decide that there's sufficient probable cause,
Right.
and then they thank you, put him in, and then they take statements
Right.
of what they've witnessed, and then they go away and then process the criminal. you know.
Exactly.
Okay.
However they deal with it, whether it's a caution or type, I don't think they do cautions here, but typically they'll just follow based on that.
Warning, they call
Yeah, warning.
Warning,
So
right.
they get a warning and then released, or they get charged.
Mhm.
it. Summoned right there, showed, they put the date on the ticket. And you're
Mhm.
mostly dealing with, from the security guard, you mean, right?
Yeah, from security guards.
Yeah, I don't know if do I have the power to arrest someone under common law who's, I don't know, is a foreign sovereign like me? Because they're property of the state. They don't belong to me.
If you witness a crime,
From a slave
it's
on a
got to be a
slave,
crime.
a slave on a slave.
Whatever. If you
I
witness
don't think
a
it
crime,
matters because it's a crime. You're just witnessing the crime.
it's just a crime. It doesn't matter who did it or anything. It's just a crime. And it can't be an offense. It's got to be a crime.
Fourth degree or more. Ah, that's interesting. And then I
Anyways.
should just clarify for Brian, the reason I use a foreign sovereign is I've traced my ancestry back on one side past the Civil War. That's the understanding that some people say. Whether that's true or not, I can't say. In my case, I do have an ancestor here prior to that, and for that reason, actually it's before the Revolutionary War, but some say it's just to the Civil War. If you can go back as far as you can, that's what gives you a man the birthright, the bloodline, to say, I'm a foreign sovereign. What am I foreign to?
Way forward to their
Exactly.
jurisdiction.
Exactly. It tells it all with
Yeah.
those two words, in my opinion.
Right.
And I've been named named a sovereign citizen by the police in this town on a public record. I'm getting to that. I'm going to be calling Glenn for some advice.
Well, if you do, I mean, what I would do is
They
I'd
said
bring
it
up,
was a federal crime what they did back when.
if you're an internationally protected person,
Well,
if you're a
yeah.
protected person under international law.
Now, supposedly, I mean, I know, I'm going with the fact that, that just because I didn't know I had what I had, and they didn't know, that's immaterial. They may say. The good news is the last time they arrested me, they had all the evidence on file. There was no excuse. So that was the final time. And now they
Other than they didn't have an oath of office.
Oh, that too. But then no, I had put them on notice. That was the weird part. I had put them on notice, meaning the city council and the city solicitor and the mayor. And for 3 times I told them, and they just ignored. They didn't they were like, this can't be true, and machinery of government moves slow. So the city solicitor called me after she came back from vacation.